I didn't lose my daughter all at once. I lost her the day she decided my place was outside her life, but my money was still welcome inside. If you've ever been pushed aside by your own family, tell me your story in the comments. Cars kept rolling in from the county road, one after another, tires crunching over gravel. A staff coordinator handed over a radio and pointed toward the far end of the lot. The instructions were brief. Where to stand, which entrance to keep clear, when to call for help. Emily had asked for this the night before, not framed as a favor, more like a logistical need. Someone had to manage traffic, and it made sense for me to do it. She said it would only be for a bit. A vest was passed over the kind venues keep in storage, slipped it on without comment. Guests stepped out of their cars dressed for a wedding, scanning for direction. Hand signals did the job. Park here. Leave that lane open. A couple argued over who had the invitation. A minivan stalled near the fence, pushed it clear with another staffer, and waved the next line through. The radio crackled with updates, more arrivals, a delayed shuttle. Nothing complicated, just movement coordination, small problems solved before they turned into larger ones. A man in a dark suit paused beside me while locking his car. "Are you with the venue?" he asked. The question hung there. A nod would have been easier. No correction came. He thanked me and walked off towards the reception hall. During a short lull, stepped away from the main flow and stood near the edge of the property where the lot gave way to the yard behind the house, hosting the reception. Voices carried from a group gathered near the patio. Laughter cut through the music. Emily's voice rose above the others. "It worked out," she said. "We needed the seats." Someone laughed. A woman replied, "If he'd been at the main table, it would have been awkward." Another voice chimed in, lower but clear enough. "This way everyone important fits," Emily answered without hesitation. Exactly. He didn't mind. No one sounded unsure. No one lowered their voice. A catering staff member crossed the yard, breaking the cluster for a moment. The conversation drifted back to table arrangements and family photos. Stood there long enough to hear it settle into normal wedding talk, then turned away. The radio buzzed again. A guest needed assistance near the entrance. Walked back to the lot and handled it. A delivery truck blocked part of the drive, redirected traffic around it. The routine continued smooth and efficient. At some point, the coordinator asked if everything was under control. Gave a short answer and handed back the vest. The radio went with it. The reception was already in motion when I stepped through the open doors. Glasses clinked. People clustered near the bar jackets, draped over chairs, conversations overlapping. A few faces turned my way, then stalled. Someone from my side of the family paused mid-sentence, eyes tracking where I'd come from, then looked away. A cousin approached, smile half-formed. "I thought you were—" She stopped herself. Never mind. Further in, a colleague from work recognized me. He glanced at his watch. "Didn't know you'd be back this soon," he said. "Thought you took the whole week off." "Plans changed," came the reply. He nodded, unsure what to say next. Emily spotted me near the edge of the room and moved fast. She caught my arm before I reached the tables. "Can we talk for a second?" Her voice stayed level, but her grip didn't loosen. She steered us a few steps away near a service corridor where guests passed without slowing. "What's going on?" I asked. Why was I parked out there like staff? Her eyes flicked toward the room, then back. "It was just easier that way," she said. "Things were tight. We needed to keep the flow smooth." "Smooth for who?" The question landed flat between us. Emily shifted her weight. "You're reading too much into it," she said. "It was just an arrangement, nothing personal." A man from her husband's family stepped closer, drawn by the tone. He didn't introduce himself. Emily coordinated everything with the planner, he said. All the seating logistics. It's her call. The statement wasn't hostile. It was final. Emily nodded along. Exactly. We agreed on it. No argument followed. There wasn't one to make. A server squeezed past with a tray, forcing space between us. Emily took that moment to return to her guests, already smiling again. I left without another word. The drive home cut through familiar streets. Traffic lights, empty storefronts, a gas station with one pump open. The phone buzzed twice before reaching the highway. My sister called first. What happened? Her tone carried the story already halfway told. Nothing to discuss tonight, I said. We'll talk later. She tried again. She didn't mean. The call ended before the sentence did. A few minutes later, my mother rang. The voicemail filled quickly. No message followed. By the time the car reached my driveway, the phone had gone still. Shoes came off near the door. Jacket landed on the chair. No lights were switched on. Sleep didn't come. Morning brought work emails, a project update, a scheduling question. Another message from the same colleague who'd seen me at the reception. "Everything okay," he wrote. "Didn't expect you back so soon." A brief response went out. "All good. See you this afternoon." By noon, I was back at the office. The usual routine held. Meetings started on time. Tasks moved forward. No one pressed further. An automated email arrived mid-afternoon. Subject line, "Final Payment Reconciliation. Hail Wedding." The message was brief. It listed adjustments, confirmations, and a note requesting acknowledgement. The sender was Laura Martinez, wedding planner. Scrolled through the attached summary. Line items blurred together until one figure stood out. Another followed. Both referenced upgrades approved after the initial agreement. A call went out to the number in the signature. Laura answered on the second ring. "This is Laura." "Thomas Hale," I said. "I received your email." "Yes," she replied. "I was hoping to confirm you'd seen it. I have questions about the adjustments," I said. "Some of these weren't discussed with me." There was a pause, then the sound of a keyboard. "All changes were approved by Emily," Laura said. She indicated she had authority over the allocations. "Did she provide that in writing?" "Yes," Laura said. "Emails and signed addenda. A meeting was requested. No urgency added. Just a need for clarity." Laura checked her calendar. "I can see you next Tuesday," she said. "At my office downtown." "That works," I said. She sent the confirmation while we were still on the line. It arrived seconds later, time and address included. Laura Martinez's office sat above a small insurance firm close to the river. The receptionist waved me through without questions. Laura was already standing when I entered a folder on the table between two chairs. "Thanks for coming in," she said. "I pulled everything you asked for." The folder opened flat. Tabs marked sections in neat handwriting. Contracts first, then addenda, then invoices stacked in order of date. She walked me through the process without commentary. "This was the original agreement," Laura said, sliding the first page forward. "This amount covered venue catering at the base level and standard seating." Pages followed. Numbers shifted. Notes appeared in the margins. "These changes came later," she continued. "Upgrades to the head table, additional floral work, premium service for a specific guest group." A finger tapped the line where payment sources were listed. "These were charged to the same fund," she said. "That fund came from me," I replied. "Yes," Laura said. "Your contribution." The words landed cleanly. No apology attached. No defense. She turned the page again. "Emily requested the changes directly," she said. She confirmed she had discretion. Confirmed how Laura reached into the folder and pulled out a printed email. "This one," she said. The line was highlighted. "Use my father's contribution to cover the upgrade. We need to prioritize the main table. The timestamp sat there 3 weeks before the wedding. No further explanation followed. Laura let the paper rest on the table. Was I copied? I asked. No, she said. All correspondence was between her and my office. Any call to verify, not unless there's a dispute, she said. She didn't indicate there would be one. The folder slid closer. Can I get copies of everything I asked, including edits and approvals? Of course, Laura said. I'll include the revision history. A phone buzzed in my pocket before the chair scraped back. Emily's name lit the screen. The call went unanswered. Laura glanced at it, then back to the folder. I'll send the files digitally as well, she said. But these are yours. A pen was passed over, signed the release without delay. By the time I reached the sidewalk, another call came through. Let it ring. A text followed almost immediately. Why are you meeting with the planner? This is getting blown out of proportion. The message stayed on the screen as I walked to the car. Another arrived before the engine turned over. We did what we had to do for his family. You know how they are. A third followed. It wasn't meant to hurt you. No response went back. The drive home took longer than usual. Traffic slowed near a construction zone. A call came in from my aunt. Everyone's talking, she said. You don't want this hanging over the family? I'm reviewing paperwork, I said. After the wedding, she asked. Let it go? The call ended without agreement. At home, the folder went onto the kitchen table. Pages were laid out one by one. Dates, signatures, amounts, patterns formed without effort. An email pinged with Laura's digital copies, downloaded and saved, forwarded to a separate address. The phone rang again. This time it was my lawyer. Send me what you have, he said after a brief explanation. I'll look at it tonight. Files transferred. A receipt came back. An hour passed. Dinner sat untouched. Another message from Emily arrived. Dad, please don't do this. You're making it look like something it isn't. A final text followed shorter. We can talk when you're ready. No reply went out. The lawyer called back later than expected. There are limits to what she could authorize, he said. Some of these changes cross them. What does that mean? It means she acted beyond the scope you gave her, he said, especially where future access is implied. Next steps. We need to secure your position, he said, and prevent further assumptions. Do that, I said. Send me confirmation in the morning, he replied. We'll proceed carefully. The call from my lawyer came early. He didn't waste time easing into it. Using designated funds outside the agreed scope can be treated as a civil breach, he said. Family arrangement or not. What do you need from me? Authorization, he replied, to protect the assets and lock down access. That was given before the coffee finished brewing. He outlined options, temporary freezes, revised permissions, formal notices. None of it sounded dramatic. It sounded procedural. Necessary. A knock came at the door before noon. Emily stood on the porch without a coat, hair pulled back, eyes red. She stepped forward when the door opened, arms already reaching. Please, she said, just let me explain. She moved fast past the entryway toward the kitchen. Words spilled out unevenly. I only wanted everything to be perfect, she said. You know how much pressure there was. Everyone expected so much. A chair scraped as she sat. Her hands shook while reaching for a tissue. You've always understood, she went on. You always do. The counter stayed between us. I need you to put it in writing, I said. Every decision you made, every dollar you approved. Her head snapped up. This isn't business, she said. This is family. It became business when money was redirected, I said. That needs documentation. Tears followed. Her voice broke. I can't do that, she said. They'll find out. It'll make things worse. What things? She hesitated. The plans. After the wedding. That pause carried weight. What plans? I asked. She wiped her face, avoiding the question at first. We were counting on continued help, she said. Rent, travel, some debt from the move. I assumed. No, I said. The word stopped her. That's not happening, I said. And from now on, communication goes through my lawyer. Her chair pushed back sharply. You're punishing me, she said. After everything. Leave, I said. She lingered, searching for another angle, then grabbed her bag and walked out without another word. The phone started ringing within the hour. Her husband's father left a message. You're tearing them apart, he said. This isn't how a parent acts. A cousin texted. She's devastated. Can't you bend a little? An aunt called twice, then sent a voice note urging compromise for the sake of peace. None of it slowed down. Messages stacked up. Each one carried the same request, dressed differently. Let it go. Be the bigger person. Fix this. By late afternoon, my lawyer called again. They're pushing back, he said. That's expected. What's the exposure, social pressure? He said. Legally, you're within your rights. Proceed, I said. An email followed with documents attached, temporary freeze orders, access revisions, notices to financial institutions. Pages required initials. Others needed full signatures. A neighbor waved while walking past the window, returned the gesture and kept reading. Emily sent another message. Dad, you're embarrassing us. This doesn't have to go this far. The reply never left my phone. Dinner plans were canceled. Papers spread across the table instead. A pen moved from page to page. Initials added where marked. Full name written out where required. Another call came in. This time from my sister. They're saying you're cutting her off, she said. I'm setting boundaries, I said. She's your daughter. And that doesn't change the facts, I said. Silence followed on the line. Do what you think you have to, she said finally. An email from Emily arrived before breakfast. The subject line stretched across the screen, long and deliberate. Opened it without delay. She wrote in full paragraphs, careful and sharp. Every sentence framed the same point from a different angle. I was being cruel. I was using money to control her. Acting through lawyers was a way to punish, not protect. If this continued, she would step back completely. No calls, no visits, no relationship. The message ended with a warning dressed as resolve. I won't stay in a relationship where love is conditional. No reply went out. By mid-morning, a formal letter arrived from her husband's parents. Not an email. A scanned document with a letterhead and a signature. They requested a written explanation regarding the wedding funds, citing confusion and reputational harm. The language stayed polite, but the intent was clear. Silence would be taken as admission. The letter was forwarded to my lawyer. He called an hour later. This is where it can turn public, he said. If they escalate, it becomes a civil dispute, not a family disagreement. What's the risk? Depositions, filings, things you don't want attached to your name unless necessary. What's the alternative? Finish it, he said. Decide where the line is and hold it. Work filled the afternoon, but nothing moved the way it usually did. Conversations stayed brief. Meetings ended early. A few people checked in without asking questions. Back home, boxes were pulled from the hall closet. Old folders, tax records, tuition receipts, lease agreements from years back. Everything tied to Emily spread across the dining table. Dates lined up easily, first apartment, emergency transfer after a breakup, credit card paid off without discussion. A pattern took shape without effort. Another file sat underneath. Smaller, recent, wedding-related expenses that hadn't come up until now. A closer look revealed something else. A car insurance payment routed through the same account. A travel charge from 2 months earlier. No message, no request. That wasn't new. The realization didn't arrive as a shock, more like confirmation. This wasn't about one decision. It was about years of stepping aside to avoid conflict. The phone rang again. My sister this time. She's not doing well, she said. I know, I said. She feels abandoned. She made choices, I said. You could still stop this, she said. People think you're going too far. People don't see the paperwork, I said. Silence held for a moment. I'm asking as your sister, she said. And I'm answering as her father, I said. The call ended without resolution. Later that evening, the lawyer sent a message asking for a decision. Proceed or pause. The files stayed open on the table as I read it. Numbers, names, signatures. Each one represented a moment when stepping in felt easier than pushing back. A short reply went out. Proceed. He called instead of writing back. If we do this, he said, there's no walking it back quietly. I understand, I said. People will say things, he added. They already are, I said. The next step was clear. Adjust the estate documents. Redefine access. Remove assumptions that had never been agreed to, but had been treated as permanent. Draft it, I said. Emily sent another email while we were still on the phone. This one shorter, less controlled. You're choosing this over me. The lawyer heard the notification through the speaker. I'll have the paperwork ready tomorrow, he said. You don't need to notify her. Don't, I said. Dinner went untouched again. The table stayed covered in folders until the pen came back out. Dates were checked, names verified, instructions followed line by line, no ceremony, no announcement. When the draft arrived later that night, it was read once, then again. Nothing in it was emotional. It didn't accuse. It didn't explain. It simply corrected what had been left open for too long. The signature line waited at the bottom. A text from Emily came through as the pen hovered. Please, just stop for a minute. The call came late in the afternoon, flagged urgent by my lawyer's assistant. I stepped out of a meeting and took it in the hallway. We found something else, my lawyer said. It changes the scope. A document appeared in my inbox seconds later. Opened it on my phone while he spoke. After the wedding, he continued, there were secondary transactions. Small at first. Travel. Short-term credit. Each one carries a notation that permission was granted by you. That's not possible, I said. I know, he said. Your name was referenced, not your signature. The language implies consent. Another file followed, then another. Each one carried the same phrasing. Authorized by father. Who accepted these, I asked. Third parties, he said. Financial services. Vendors. They didn't verify because the amounts were modest and the relationship was presumed. Presumed. The word landed harder than the numbers. What does that mean? It means exposure, he said. Not criminal. But if someone challenges it, the trail points back to you. The meeting resumed without me. I stayed where I was and forwarded the files to Laura Martinez. She responded within the hour. I can pull everything tied to post-event changes. Give me the afternoon. The reaction from Emily's husband's family followed soon after. A message came through their attorney, careful in tone and fast to distance. They had no knowledge of these transactions. Any decisions were made independently by Emily. They wanted to clarify before matters escalated. My lawyer read it aloud over the phone. They're stepping back, he said, trying to limit their exposure. Let them, I said. Laura sent a secure link before dinner. The timeline was clean. Requests initiated by Emily. Confirmations sent to her email. Payments routed through accounts I had funded but never assigned for ongoing use. A pattern emerged. each approval framed as time-sensitive, each one justified by logistics or family obligations, none shared with me. My lawyer requested a written explanation from Emily through formal channels. No call, no meeting, just a request to account for decisions tied to my name. The response came the next morning. 3 pages. Typed. Emotional. She cited stress, pressure, expectations. She said the marriage had started under scrutiny and she'd been trying to keep peace on all sides. She claimed she believed permission was implied given the history of support. No receipts attached. No acknowledgement of misrepresentation. She's not denying the actions, my lawyer said. She's reframing the authority. What's the risk if we keep going civil consequences, he said. Depositions, disclosure. It gets uncomfortable. And if we stop, the record stays muddy, he said, and the assumptions continue. The phone rang again this time from a number I didn't recognize. It went to voicemail. A minute later, a text arrived from Emily's mother-in-law. We need to talk. This is getting out of hand. Another message followed, more direct. We're willing to resolve this privately. No lawyers, no records. The offer came with conditions. Silence. No further action. A mutual agreement to move on. My lawyer read the proposal and shook his head. They want containment, he said, not resolution. What happens if I accept you absorb the ambiguity, he said, and the risk doesn't disappear? Laura called to confirm one last detail. I need to be clear, she said. Emily initiated every change. My office followed her instructions. There was no attempt to mislead on our end. Put that in writing, I said. It already is, she said. I'll send it again. Emily sent another message while we were on the line. I never meant to put you in this position. They're blaming me now. Can we just talk? I didn't answer. The house filled with papers again. New ones this time. Statements, emails, timelines. Each piece narrowed the story. The lawyer summarized it plainly. She lost control of the narrative, he said. But you haven't won anything yet. What's the next move? Decide whether you want closure or quiet, he said. Another message arrived, this time from her husband's father. We're prepared to make this right. We ask that you keep this within the family. The phrase sat there familiar. Within the family. It had covered a lot over the years. A response was drafted by my lawyer, neutral and brief. Acknowledgement without commitment. Request for time. Send it, I said. The reply to the proposal went out before noon. Short, formal, no room for interpretation. All matters will proceed through legal counsel. No private resolution. My lawyer confirmed receipt from the other side within minutes. No counteroffer followed. The silence that came after felt different, less crowded, more deliberate. Paperwork moved fast once the decision was clear. Estate amendments were finalized first. Beneficiary language revised. Assumptions removed. Nothing dramatic on the page, just lines tightened where they'd been left open too long. Bank confirmations followed, access levels adjusted, alerts triggered. Accounts that had once been treated as shared now required explicit authorization. A banker called to confirm. So just to be clear, she said no third-party access unless approved directly by you. That's correct, I said. Understood, she replied. Changes are active. The reaction from Emily's husband's family arrived later that afternoon. Their attorney sent a brief notice stating they would not pursue further communication. No apology, no explanation, just distance. My lawyer read it and nodded. They're out, he said. They don't want their name anywhere near this. Emily's support thinned quickly after that. Messages from extended family slowed, then stopped. The group texts went quiet. Invitations to talk were withdrawn without comment. She tried once more. The call came through late in the day. It wasn't answered. A voicemail followed. I just want 5 minutes, she said. No lawyers, just us. The phone stayed where it was. Another message arrived soon after. Please don't shut me out like this. It joined the others unread beyond the notification. More documents came in for review. Trust language, financial safeguards, contingency clauses, signed each one as it arrived, returning them without delay. A second banker called to verify identity. We've implemented the controls you requested, she said. You'll receive written confirmation by end of day. Thank you, I said. At work, the routine held. Meetings stayed on schedule. A project deadline was met. No one mentioned the situation directly, but the questions stopped coming. The lawyer called again, near closing time. All filings are complete, he said. Nothing left pending on our end. What about responses they can object, he said. But they don't have grounds. Emily appeared at the house that evening without notice. A car idled in the driveway while I stood at the window. She didn't knock right away. Stood there for a moment, then raised her hand and stopped herself. A text followed. I'm outside. No reply went back. The car left a few minutes later. No horn, no wave. Another email arrived from my lawyer before dinner. Banks confirmed. Estate documents recorded. Access locked. Attached was a summary. Dates, actions, finality. Everything is in place, he said when he called to follow up. From here on, it's enforcement, not negotiation. Anything else? Just time, he said. Time for it to settle. The kitchen table stayed clear that night. No stacks of paper, no folders waiting to be sorted. Dinner was simple. Dishes washed and put away. A message from Emily came through while drying a plate. I don't recognize you anymore. The phone was set down without response. Later, a final update arrived from the lawyer. They've acknowledged receipt, he said. No further action indicated. So that's it. For now, he said. The outcome is set. What happens next is up to them. The house fell back into its usual rhythm. Lights off in unused rooms, a clock marking the hour. Before turning in, checked the account notifications one last time. Everything read as expected. No pending alerts, no new access requests. The final documents were ready 2 weeks later. My lawyer asked me to come by his office instead of sending them over electronically. No urgency in his voice, just procedure. The receptionist recognized me and nodded toward the conference room. Papers were arranged in 2 neat stacks. One for signatures, one for records. These confirm the changes we discussed, my lawyer said. Inheritance adjustments, access restrictions, and final acknowledgments. He slid the first page forward. Emily's name appeared only once listed under revisions. No percentages, no future allocations, just a clean removal from what had once been assumed permanent. The pen moved across the paper. Initials, signature, date. Another page followed, then another, each one shorter than the last. There's nothing else pending, he said. She won't have access to the accounts or any discretionary funds. Everything routes through you alone. Any response she received? Notice, he said. No formal objection. That was it. No meeting scheduled. No appeal filed. No message forwarded through counsel. The folder closed with a soft thud. My lawyer stood and extended his hand. If anything changes, he said, you'll hear from me. Outside, the sidewalk was busy with lunchtime foot traffic. People moved past without paying attention. Life carried on at its usual pace. Work filled the following days. A new project broke ground earlier than planned. Meetings stretched longer. Travel dates shifted. The routine held solid and predictable. Emily didn't call again. No texts followed. Emails stopped completely. Family gatherings came and went without invitations. A cousin mentioned a holiday dinner in passing, then changed the subject. No one pressed. Winter arrived early that year. The first heavy snowfall shut down the highway north for a day. When it reopened, I packed the car and drove out before sunrise. The ski lodge sat a few hours away, tucked off a state road. A rental counter, a locker room, a line moving at a steady pace. Signed the waiver, took the lift ticket, adjusted the boots. The slope wasn't crowded. A few locals, a couple of teenagers racing each other down the hill. The first run went slow, legs stiff, turns wide. By the third, muscle memory took over. The rhythm returned without thought. Breaks were brief, a cup of water, gloves adjusted. Back up the lift. No phone reception at the top. Left it in the locker and didn't check until evening. Back home mail waited on the counter. Bills, advertisements. One envelope from the bank confirming changes already made. Dinner was reheated and eaten standing at the counter. Dishes rinsed and set aside. A message arrived late that night. Unknown number. This is Emily. I don't agree with what you did, but I understand it now. The screen stayed lit for a few seconds. Then it went dark. No reply followed. The following week, my lawyer called once more. Everything's been finalized, he said. No further correspondence from her side. Good, I said. He hesitated. For what it's worth, he said you handled this cleanly. That was the goal, I said. The call ended. A new routine took shape. Early mornings. Work. Evenings left open. Ski trips on weekends when weather allowed. Long drives with nothing scheduled on the other end. One afternoon, I passed the wedding venue while heading to a site meeting. Cars filled the lot again. Another event underway. Different names, different family. Didn't slow down. The last visit to the law office came at the end of the month. One final confirmation. A receipt. The clerk handed over a sealed copy for my records. Anything else you need today? She asked. No, I said. The elevator ride down was short. Doors opened to the street. Cold air hit my face as I stepped out. The folder stayed tucked under my arm until I reached the car. It went into the trunk, unopened. Traffic moved steadily toward the bridge. The light turned green before I reached the intersection. There was no sense of victory. No relief that needed naming. Just the absence of pressure where it used to sit. The road ahead stayed clear as the car merged into the flow, carrying me forward without asking where I'd been or what I'd left behind.